And please let me know, the people online, if you can hear me well. I don't know if anyone. Okay, perfect. Okay, so first of all, thank you all very much for being here in presence and also online to this debate that we decided to organize on pastoral schools and generational renewal in agriculture. And today it not will be only us, that we will give only introductory remarks at the beginning, but I think, I don't know, maybe open it, yeah. But we also have other speakers that are coming from outside to really teach us many things about pastoral schools and many different topics connected to them. So first we will have Beatrice Bellavia from Euromontana, and she will set a little bit the scene on pastoral schools in Europe, and then we will go to the examples, to the specific examples from different territories. We will have Tommaso Campedelli from Italy. Then we will have Maria Diaz de Quijano from Catalonia in Spain, then Marco Fernandes from Portugal, and then Lauriane Flamand from France. So as you see, different territories that will be presented today with different specificities, different challenges, and then the schools will show also how they address these different challenges. But before we go to this, which is the most interesting part, we decided to do some introductory remarks to also show a little bit why we decided to do this debate on this important topic. So from my point of view, Alba Barrutieta, I didn't say my name, from Unit P3. So from the social sustainability perspective, I will explain a little bit why, and then Michele will explain a little bit from the B2 perspective, so environmental sustainability perspective. So maybe to give you a little bit of context on this part that says generational renewal, I guess for many of you, if you have been following the topic, these figures that I will share with you now are not going to be new. But in any case, I think it's good that we start with the same base, so with a little bit of context. If we look at the big challenge ahead that we have on generational renewal in agriculture, we see that the numbers now are quite shocking. So only 12% of all EU farmers are below the age of 40, while 33% of all EU farmers are above the age of 65. So here, with these two numbers, we already see that there's a very big imbalance between the age groups. However, if we go and we check also in the about the situation in livestock sector, we see that compared to 2010, the largest percentage decrease in the number of young farmers was observed in the livestock farming sector. So if the situation is challenging in general, if we look at the livestock sector, this is even a biggest challenge. And this is why, with this context, we in the Commission adopted this strategy for generational renewal in October 2025. And with this strategy, we try to tackle the different barriers that young farmers and also new farmers have to access the sector. So these are access to land, also access to finance, access to knowledge and innovation. Then, of course, the importance of having rural areas that are alive and that have good services. And then the fifth pillar, or the fifth priority that we also tackle, it's the let's say the good exit to the sector. So not only tackling the entry to the sector, but also the good exit. So this is adequate pension schemes and good succession models. So with this in mind, for each one of these priorities of these areas, the strategy has different actions, not only at EU level, but also at national level and at regional level. And also it's important to mention that the actions are across policy areas. So going beyond only maybe measures under the Common Agricultural Policy. But I will not go into much depth on this because we want to focus on the pastoral schools. And something I wanted to highlight also connected to this access to knowledge and innovation is that for livestock and pastoralism sector, I think pastoral schools are key in this access to knowledge and innovation. it is quite difficult sometimes to find in different member states this let's say formal education that allows you to access these kind of skills. So it's very relevant that we have these examples, these good examples to access knowledge and innovation. But we will also see that it's not only for this, but also we have modules in different pastoral schools that are key for accessing land or key to facilitating succession. But this, it's better that the colleagues explain. And I think this is everything from my side. And Michele, if you want to...
I'll take over shortly. You have the computer, there is maybe. So thanks very much. This is, this initiative, by the way, is not only for EU officials, it's also open to local authorities in different areas of Europe and to NGOs. So just for everybody to know that we are not talking just to European colleagues, but to a wider range of stakeholders. And this is taking place in the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralism, that is 2026, that has been decided by the UN as the year where pastoralism is top on the agenda. So we are very happy to contribute to this wider debate, because pastoralism, that is named also or codified as extensive livestock farming, is relevant not only for the livestock sector, but very often and very much also for land management. Because on the one hand, as you said, generation renewal and the problem of aging in the livestock sector is very high. On the other hand, we are facing in Europe serious problems of depopulation and land abandonment and desertification, especially in remote marginal inner territories such as mountainous areas. So that is where very often extensive livestock farming takes place. So you have on the one hand the problems of the livestock sector, on the other hand the problems of the mountainous regions and the marginal territories, and both together the synergies of these problems make these initiatives of the pastoral schools, that, as we will see, there are many in Europe, quite critical, because generational renewal very often takes place in the family, in the vertical line, so within the family. This is not anymore the case, because demography is changing, because the labor market is changing. So the idea is to open up to members from other families or from other territories or from other sectors of society that might be interested in taking the responsibility and taking the pleasure of managing grasslands through extensive livestock farming. B2 is my unit. We are environmental sustainability, and as you know, the key focus therefore is environmental and climate issues. And we recently kind of released, together with other colleagues from E3, A2, and other parts of and other units of DG AGRI, a specific brief where we depict, so I won't go into details, about the social and the environmental services that extensive livestock farming is providing to European territories. The point, just to make it simple, is that 1/3 of European agricultural land is grassland, and that grassland, the most effective way to manage that is through grazing. And in order to have grazing, you need animals that are raised in a way that is extensive. So the three elements combined together, and the fact that the livestock sector, mountainous areas and grasslands are suffering from problems of presence and management makes these pastoral schools experiences, though challenging, very, very important for the future of these territories and this sector. Because, as I said, is not only ecologically relevant as a sector, but is also, socially and economically very vulnerable. Why pastoralists are disappearing? Because the economics of having large herds on large swathes of land is not there anymore, because the price of the products in the market, you have to compete with products from other sectors or other countries. There are large carnivores and predators that are there. Managing those livestock is complicated in labor terms. You need a lot of knowledge that these schools try to inspire somehow, from the climate to the livestock physiology to the knowledge of the territory. So it's a very sophisticated endeavor, and that is why a school is maybe not the best way to learn, because you have to learn by practice, but it's definitely something that we need in order to enhance this generational renewal. One last point about EU policy, because this fits not only with the generational renewal policy of the Commission, but even more with other policies. I'm thinking about the livestock policy, the integrated wildfire risk management policy, the habitat policy, the long-term vision for rural areas, and within our own DG Agri concern, the vision for food and agriculture specifically addresses for the next CAP a territorial approach, meaning that each territory has to find its own farming systems and practices that are adapted to produce food on the one hand and to manage the environment on the other one. as an example in case, as we will hear from the Portuguese case, grazing and the management of vegetational biomass through grazing is important to reduce the risk of wildfire, as it has been acknowledged in our strategy. So there are very many aspects that will be touched on by the different schools, and I leave it here because I already spoke too much, and I will leave the room and the floor to Euromontana. Thanks again for being here.
Well, thanks a lot for your presence, and thank you so much for the opportunity of coming here and sharing a few insights. My name is Beatrice Bellavia. I represent Euromontana. That's a European Association for Mountain Territories. Before I begin, are the people online able to properly hear me, just to be sure? Hopefully, yes. And now I'm going to just wait for my presentation. Thank you. Thanks a lot. The sacred growl. Okay. All right. You're sharing the screen, but we cannot see it there. My presentation. Right? Oh, no. I'll try again. Okay.
Like this, you can see it?
No, it looks like they are not able to see it. Share, maybe sharing the window. Yeah. Okay, share, just to make sure that everyone can.
No, but share.
We cannot see
it. We can see.
Yes, but the people in the room actually cannot see it. Yeah.
Use a computer like this. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll just go like that if everyone is okay, and I'll do my best to give you the visualization of what I'm talking about. So I wanted to start with, and maybe I'm just going to start with a quick scene setter. I don't want to add too much to the information that has been already shared with you. The insights that I got actually are coming from from two policy briefs from DG AGRI. One is the one that has been mentioned right now. The other one is dedicated to youth and agriculture. But yeah. Okay.
No, the PowerPoint, neither the PowerPoint, no.
Oops. Yes, sorry. I can do it with my computer then. Lovely to have a backup for these cases.
Share the knowledge here. That's
I will. Let's see. Share window. Share. And maybe you might be able to see.
Okay, a little bit bigger.
And slideshow.
Perfect.
Thank you for the crowdsourcing information. Okay. I'll speed it up. Average age of farmers in Europe, 57 years old. What we consider young workers in agriculture, that's under 40 years old. 31% of the agriculture workers are actually younger than 40 years old, and that's a really low proportion, especially if you compare it with other economic sectors. Percentage of the utilized agricultural area that is managed by young farmers, that's only the 18%. Ownership rate, that's also quite low, 37%, especially if you compare it with the ownership rate of the older kind of generation that goes up to 60%. Income of the farms that are managed by younger kind of workers, that's definitely below the other age groups. So that's also something to keep in mind. As of 2010, the actual livestock farming sector, as Alba already said, experienced a significant percentage decline in the number of workers, of young workers. I'm just going to go very quick on this because I don't want to be too repetitive. In only 10 years, there was a 40% of decline in the animal numbers and a 70% decline in the number of farm holdings, especially if we look at the extensive live sector. So basically, all of the challenges that we've been mentioning as of the beginning, they get really more acute if we narrow down the scope only on the extensive live sector. At the same time, in a lot of places, we can see in parallel a growth in the intensity of the grazing, because in many cases that coincides with a higher profit, or to be a bit more specific, with a higher medium farm net value. So the situation is indeed far from being optimal. Here, just a quick graph to show the number of sheep and goat farms, especially in Greece, Spain, and Italy. In 20 years, it's all declining, basically. And again, just a few insights that Michele kindly shared with me from a recent study. The extensive farm have actually a higher share of managers that are older, so above 65, and less younger farmers. As well, at the same time, it's not only an age issue, but it's also about lower female participation and the fact that extensive livestock farms are usually located in areas with national constraints. So there are different factors here that, like, combined all together, they do aggravate the situation a little bit. But now, after the scene setter, where do we want to position the shepherd schools in this wider framework? So here I just gathered a few insights based on research, but also on the experience that we could build through the LIFE ShepForBio project that actually managed to build a first network of different European shepherd schools. Why do we need to invest in this type of training? First obvious answer, well, that actually tackles the issue of generational renewal, because can we mute the people? Sorry, I cannot speak with the echo. Okay, maybe it's gone. Of course, this kind of training actually equips with the right skills the future generations of pastoralists. And at the same time, it helps to protect, to preserve pastoral knowledge and practice, which otherwise would potentially get lost. And at the same time, it keeps cultural heritage alive. One obvious example is the transhumance traditions that with this type of training, with this type of schools, actually finds kind of new blood to ensure the future of this profession. These are places where very often we can see the combination of more traditional kind of know-how and modern skills, because one thing that we could see is that the sector is changing. It's changing very fast. And this means that the new generations needs a whole new set of skills and capacities to be able to adapt to what's going on, and especially to what's going to go to happen in the next decades, right? Not to mention having shepherd schools or specialized trainings in especially marginal or mountain or rural areas that also coincides with keeping rural communities stronger, alive, more resilient to the future. Last but not least, a quick mention, but we're going to go more deep into this later. How do the shepherd schools actually contribute to protecting biodiversity and keeping landscapes alive that otherwise would most probably get abandoned? So this is extremely important. At the same time, they do contribute to the development of local economies, and sometimes also to the promotion of very specific and niche products. Also, I want to just quickly mention some untapped potential that we are here to advocate for because it needs further attention and investment. But this is things that we were able to learn through the experience of the project. So shepherd schools actually foster networks. They also hold the very important power of communicating, of shaping the narrative that is built around the idea of being a shepherd, the kind of profession that you have. Very often we talk about younger generations not willing to engage themselves in this type of profession. But something really important here is how do we tend to frame mentally who is a shepherd and what type of contribution do they bring? So the power of communication is something that is really not to be underestimated here. Shepherd schools ensure access to vital resources. One example mentioned also before, the access to land, the access to pastures. They improve services that ultimately are benefited not only by current shepherds, but also for the aspiring, the future ones. And last but not least, we could see that they serve also as advocacy groups that help keep certain pastoralism issues very well present on the policy agenda. So that's also very important. A very quick and far from comprehensive overview at the European level. This is a very preliminary mapping of some of the schools that are in our network. Please bear in mind, it's work in progress. It's far from being complete. And at the end of September, the LIFE ShepForBio project will release a technical dossier that is meant to give a more comprehensive overview on the topic. So, of course, I'm going to make sure that the slides are shared after the meeting, but maybe just a quick few insights that we could gather so far. The pastoral training in Europe has a quite uneven situation. There are some shepherd schools, there is some specialized programs there, but we need more, of course, and a lot of the let's say training actually happens through the transfer of more informal knowledge. Some countries, notably France and Spain, are leading the way when it comes to the development of the programs, and they are the ones that are definitely able to combine the more traditional side with the more modern type of skills. A lot of the pastoral knowledge is actually learned through the practice on the field and through mentoring and flanking different professional figures. The programs, of course, are facing a lot of challenges, especially connected with the scene setting information that I provided you first. But one to be mentioned here, very important, is the lack of institutional support, especially when it comes to the long term. Finally, on the other hand, we also need to say that the narration is also shifting and that more attention, more visibility is finally given to the shepherd schools, especially when it comes to recognizing the role in addressing the generational renewal issue and the rural vitality contribution that they can give. I mentioned before the technical dossier, which will be ready by the end of September. So keep an eye on the project. We're going to share with you. And now, just to close my presentation, save the date for these two events that we have already scheduled. At the end of June and at the beginning of July, Euromontana is holding its European Mountain Convention. That's a very important event that happens once every 2 years. And of course, the theme of this year is extensive livestock and pastoralism. On the 1st of July, we're going to organize a workshop entirely dedicated to pastoral schools. And at the end of September, the LIFE ShepForBio project will organize its 3rd international conference in Florence. So, you know, QR code is here. We are here. So if you're interested, just come and have a chat with us. You're warmly welcome to join us there. And with this, I stop and I thank you so much for your attention. Happy to leave the floor to Tommaso. Okay. Let's see if we can, okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks to give me the possibility to speak about our experience with the Shepherd School in the LIFE ShepForBio project. And the idea of establishing a school of shepherds as part of the LIFE ShepForBio project arose more or less 10 years ago. Also following several discussion and confrontation with Rete Appia, that is the Italian Shepherds Network that at that time was involved in setting up the SNAP, that is the National Shepherd School for Shepherds. In the original vision, the SNAP was intended to be the framework to establish several other schools, ideally at a regional level, and obviously each with specific characteristics related to the specificity of the region, of the territory in which they works. And even if the SNAP project has not been fully implemented, now there are several shepherd schools that are operating in Italy, and we have 4 schools. And we have the Shepherd School of LIFE ShepForBio project in Tuscany. We have the Calascio Shepherd School in Abruzzo region, the Sardinian Shepherd School, obviously Sardinia, and then the last one is the Young Shepherd School, Giovani Pastori, that is quite different. Is an itinerant school, and at this time we have 2 training cycles completed, one in Piedmont region and the other one in Sicily. These schools are some different each other, both in terms of curricula and above all in terms of target audiences. For example, the Sardinia school works with the aim to train, to update shepherds that are already working in this field. LIFE ShepForBio school works only with aspiring shepherds, and whilst the Calascio school is open to both, offering master classes on specific topics. So there are several differences. Some details about the LIFE ShepForBio Shepherd School. It started in 2023, and the project includes 4 training courses from 2023 to 2026. This is the last year, and 8 aspiring shepherds for year, for a total of 32 new shepherds trained at the end of the project, and 16 modules with a focus, specific focus on the role of shepherd school and shepherds in biodiversity and landscape conservation, and also in ecosystem services providing. The curricula is composed by 200 hours of theoretical and practical lessons, more or less 50% each, and then 1 month of internship in a livestock farm in the National Park of Foreste Casentinesi. We are also working on other 2 specific projects in collaboration with the Tuscany region, that is a partner of the LIFE ShepForBio project. One is about the definition of a professional qualification for shepherds, that for us it's very important because it's the first necessary step towards an improving shepherd working conditions. And the second one is the creation of a matchmaking platform to connect livestock farms that are looking for employees or collaborators, and aspiring shepherds that want to make experience and to have the possibility to grow from a professional point of view. We took this idea from the school, pastoral school of Catalonia, that has already developed a sort of this platform. At the end of the 3rd course, the 4th is already in progress now. We trained 23 new shepherds, and among these, 5 were already running farms, and they have started the livestock activities. 6 are setting up new livestock farms. 4 are employees or work as contractors or collaborators on other livestock farms. 1 is still looking for the right opportunity, and other 7 are currently in other job. Overall, 15 out of 23 are involved in pastoralism, and we think it's a very great results. Obviously, the shepherd school will not solve all the pastoralism problems, but they can play a very important role, a very significant contribution to addressing both the problem of generational renewal, but also to promote the extensive livestock farming and all the added value that it brings from an environmental, social, and cultural point of view. But to do this, they must be allowed to operate to their full potential. And in recent years, Europe has co-funded a lot of different projects, Erasmus, LIFE, Horizon, and so on, focusing on pastoral training, school curricula, trainings, exchanges among shepherds, and so on. And we think that now it's the time to put all this experience into practice and to implement a model that, as we can see, particularly in France and Spain, has already proven to be able to contribute to the promotion of pastoralism and also to cope with the problem of generational renewal. Some proposal from our experience to strengthen the role of European Pastoral School. The first is to recognize within the framework of common agricultural and rural development policies of the role of the schools as a key tool for facilitating generational renewal, but also at the same time to ensuring the social and environmental integrity of local communities and territories, provide within the same policies stable financial resources that enable schools to give the school the possibility to plan their activities over time frames that normally are precluded by project-based funding. This is a very important point. Create a network of European pastoral school, for example, based on the example of those already active in Spain or in France, network useful for sharing project ideas, but also for lobby activities. Try to establish a mechanism to promote the activity of the school. Just to give you a couple of examples. For example, tax incentives for companies hiring aspiring shepherds graduated from the schools, or for example to introduce preferential criteria for the access to public tender, for example, for grazing on public lands. Could be very useful. And the last, try to put together all the European experiences. As I said before, there are a lot of project focuses on these topics by creating a basic European training curriculum, obviously to implement with the specificity from regions, different country, region, territories, and also an official European professional qualification that recognize the role of shepherds and extensive grazing in biodiversity conservation, landscape conservation, wildfire prevention, and in general, ecosystem services provided. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you both, Beatrice and Tommaso. And now we will go to the online speakers, and then we will give some time after all the presentations for Q&A in case you have any questions. But now, Maria, I don't know if you can hear us from the Catalan school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you hear me as well?
Yes, we hear you.
Perfect. Okay. So I try to share my presentation. Do you see it?
Yes, we can see it, Maria. Thank
Yes?
you.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting us here. I'm Maria Diaz de Quijano, and I have been working 10 years in the School of Shepherds of Catalonia. Now it's the 18th edition of this school, and the school is managed, it's run by the Rurban's Association. This school is located in the Catalan Pyrenees, but in the Spanish side of the Pyrenees. So we are in Catalonia, you see it in the province of Lleida, and then we have the office in Rialp, and then we have our students in Umbin. The aim of Rurban's Association is to foster this the new generation that can go to the primary sector, this renewal of generations. And our vision is that these people that wants to become shepherd and have their own farm, they work on agroecological basis. So we, with our students, what we do is that we promote small scale farms, collective or family activities that they are economical and socially viable and with an ecological production, not forcefully with a certification of ecological production, but under ecological basis. And yes, they produce food of good quality, they promote food sovereignty. And yes, this is the aim of Rurban's Association. I must say that the most known project or working line of Rurban's Association is the School of Shepherds of Catalonia, but we have other lines of working. We have an incubator farm with a flock of goats in southern Catalonia. We also do services to the public administrations. Like the most common thing is that we have townhouse that they want to have shepherds in their municipality to prevent wildfires, and they ask us to give them support to try to find these shepherds and organize everything. Then we have a job platform that it's not only job. We also we have announcements, advertisements about people who are searching for associate people or people who wants to do collective they want to yes to buy things collectively, etc. And we also work a lot on farm transmissions, and actually we are coordinating a group of different public administrations and within these organizations there is the Department of Agriculture, and we are trying to promote these farm transmissions and that our students take over these farms. So to go into the training of the School of Shepherds of Catalonia, it's 1,000 hours. It lasts 6.5 months, but it starts in January and it ends in October. We have a theoretical block. We start with 4 weeks of basic concepts, and then we have 7.5 weeks of advanced content. And our teachers are farmers, are shepherds, are veterinarians, are technicians from the Department of the Agriculture. They are all experts in each topic. And then our students have the practical internship, which is 4 months, divided into 2 months long each period. After finishing the training, our students have our own certificate, which is given by the School of Shepherds of Catalonia, Rurban's Association. But this certificate, it's recognized by the Department of Agriculture, so that these people, if they want to apply for the first installation of young farmers, the European subsidized, our training, it serves to apply for this helps, this subsidized. To go a bit more deeper into the training it's oriented especially to sheep and goats. Also, people that comes to the school, they could learn about cows, but the reality is that almost nobody is interested in having cows. So in the end, it's mostly oriented to sheep and goats. And here you see the calendar. Actually, we start with these 4 weeks, which are in yellow, these basic concepts. Then this is in January. Then our students go on practical internship for 2 months. They come back for 5 weeks of theoretical content. Then they go back for the internship in another farm or in a for 2.5 weeks, 4 weeks. And these advanced concepts, each week it's one topic in concrete. So we have nutrition, we have silver pasture for fire prevention. Then we have management and animal health. This is what we are doing right now. We have another week for management of mountain pastures, and it's addressed specifically to those people who want to work in the mountains. Then we have another module about herding livestock with dogs. And in the end, also milk and meat processing and the business management, which it's not so fun as the others, but they need to do it as well. And then, in this last week of business management, we do a farm transmission session. Actually, as I told you before, Rurban's Association works with the School of Shepherds, but also a lot with farm transmissions. We do several activities in our area, like raising awareness conferences addressed to all people who have farms and they want to stop their activity. And we have this video forum. It's about a project that the old people stop their activity and some students took over the farm. Then we also do some trainings addressed to these old people who are about to finish with the farm. We do visits to get to know some examples of farm transmission and to get to know the old people who has stopped, but also the new interns that have taken over the activity. And we also go to farms that are looking for someone who will continue. And these activities will do it with our students or all students from the school that they have already been working in other farms and now they want to install themselves somewhere, but they don't find a place. So this is a good opportunity for them to see farms that they are looking for someone. And then we have some documents like some booklets to start preparing the key questions that they have to ask themselves to do this transmission. Also, we have a booklet to raise this awareness of our old farmers, because usually they don't think that it's an option that someone who is not already a farmer can take their farm. They think that either it's their children or either they will close their farm. So it serves us to raise this awareness within our old farmers. And then we do a class specifically to our students where we talk with them about the possibility of taking a farm that it's going to stop and how difficult are this issue, but how they can do things in a better way so that old farmers will be happier to leave them their farms. And so, okay. Yes, and the results of the school, it's until 2024, we have had 674 applications. Actually, we have every year much more applications than places at the school. So only 38% of the applications will have a place in our school. And 87% of these people who start the school will finish the studies. And so we have had until 2024 225 students. And among these, we can say that almost 85% of these students that have finished their studies are in relation with the primary sector. Specifically, 65% work already in the primary sector. Either they have their farm or either they are working for other people. And then we have this about 20% of people that they are, when we ask them, they are trying to find a place to install themselves, or they are saving money to get lands, wherever. And then, yes, we have 15% that they don't continue, or either we don't have information about that they don't answer the questionnaire. And I think this is all. Well, we were asked to be very, very fast. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. And from this presentation that was more focused on the succession, we will go to Marco with the example from Portugal, more linked to wildfire prevention.
Hello, good morning.
So whenever you want, Marco. Yes, we can hear you.
Share my screen. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, it works.
It works. Let me. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Marco Fernandes. I'm a farmer and a researcher from agroecology and extensive livestock. And today is June the 3rd. So fire season is already starting in Portugal and across the Mediterranean area. So my argument is simple in this first note. Shepherds prevent fire, fire trucks don't, okay? I'm presenting the Shepherd School of Alvão in the northern of Portugal. I'm a training model of Mediterranean mountain regeneration with wildfire prevention at its core. So, what you see in that picture is from the last year, July last year. This mountain is Alvão mountain. This was burning from 12 days. And in some places it was burning from 3 weeks. So it was a devastation picture to see. In today, when I see this picture, my heart is crying, because it was a very tough days to go and see this. So look at these two pictures. On the left, we have residents fighting the fire, brave people, but reactive. And the right side, we have cows escaping from the fire. And this image breaks my heart, because those cows shouldn't be running from the fire. They should be preventing that fire. So this is the crisis we are facing across the Mediterranean mountains. And is the chain of collapse. So we have rural abandonment. We have few shepherds managers. We have a fuel load accumulation with scrubs, brooms, flammable understory. The result, as you see it in the picture, is catastrophic. High intensity wildfires with short recurrence. We have recurrence at 1, 2 years, 3 years almost, okay. And it's ecological collapse. There's a loss of biodiversity, soil carbon, and fertility. We are not facing a fire problem. We are facing a land management problem. So the historical solution is grazing, are disappearing, and fire took its place. And you may ask, why? Why this happened? Because we have a story. Portugal was always been a pastoral country. So a country of shepherds and flocks, where fire and shepherding shaped our mountains and slopes. But especially during the 20th century, this way of life was highly persecuted. So this pyrrhic herbivory that we call it today was highly persecuted by the authorities. derived from the forestry idea imported from Central Europe, which sought to transform Portugal into a forest country, a blanket of pine and eucalyptus canopies that today is a match ready to burn. And so we designed a response, a Maronesa model response, based on three principles: freedom and self-sufficient. The animals roam year-round; they feed from the land, not from trucks. Okay, our animals may stay in the mountains. A pyrrhic herbivory system, grazing plus prescripted fire used together. Grazing removes fine fuel. Fire removes coarser fuels. You're going to see a picture in a minute. And in the third point is a radical efficiency. So one shepherd can manage over 100 animals. A low cost, it is scalable. So this is not extensive grazing as usual. This is not business as usual. This is fuel management with oaths, jaws, and fire. We control biomass before it becomes a bomb. So you can see it, our Maronesa cows in the mountain manage the land with oaths, with jaws, and sometimes with fire. You're going to see it in the minute. So what is the measurable here? So the results. First, we have active fuel management. So creating breaks in landscape continuity. The second, we have plus 300% of pasture productivity in the mountains. So less flammable vegetation, more green biomass. And third, prescripted fire replaces accidental or catastrophic fires. So every hectare grazed is an hectare that won't burn catastrophically. So this is not a slogan, okay? This was measured by us in our mountains. You see here, prescripted fire in the left. You can see a cow, a Maronesa cow, waiting for the prescripted fire stops to go grazing where the fire was in minutes ago. And you see it below, right in the below, a Maronesa cow a week later grazing where the prescripted fire was occurred. So we are not saying by say it. We have proofs that this system exists and makes sense for our mountains. So who we are. So who is behind of this model? So the Terra Maronesa is the association of breeders, technicians, and communities formalized in 2018. We are a living laboratory of people, animals, and natural balance. And our starting point was the native Maronesa cattle. You see it in the pictures. These animals are adapted to rough terrains, so they eat the fuel that would otherwise feed wildfires. We didn't invent a new breeder. We reviving a fire-resistant landscape using an ancient animal and modern planning. How we do it? Oh, but the model by himself can prove it nothing. So we have to scale it and we have to train people. This was the missing piece that we have in this model. Why a school? Well, to escalate wildfire prevention. So Portugal is now known as a potential wildfire country. So we have to scale it this and have to form the people. So the scale wildfire prevention, one shepherd with 100 cows manage 100 hectares of fuel. So what are the current models to the fire prevention? Prescripted fire, practical, legal, and safe application, pasture management, keeping fuel low and green, wolf coexistence, because it's very important the predators being in our mountains, and carbon and ecosystem service management, linking fire prevention to climate goals. We don't train traditional shepherds, we are training landscape managers. How? Learning by do it. So we have a plan, just like Maria says, we have a plan of farmers and farms, and every module answers And one question, what does this to prevent fire? Prescribed fire teaches how to control it. Pasture management teaches prevention. Wolf coexistence teach retention, so keeping shepherds on the land. Carbon management teaches us to monetize ecosystem service, because if the model is not economic viability, the shepherd won't stay in the mountain. So the model pays for itself. Without economic viability, there is no fire prevention. And this is not a local curiosity. So we have a LIFE program, a LIFE Maronesa. You can check it later. So LIFE Maronesa project was selected by the UNCCD as a good practice for in grassland management. We have a brand, Climate Plus, because the extensive pasture and the mountain pasture, we created a brand, Climate Plus, and we expanded to other Portuguese native breed, because Portugal is the country with more native breed species of goats, sheep, and cows, and with the participation in European networks like this forum, because for us it's very important to show how we do it, and everyone can do it. So this is not a local curiosity, it's a replicable model from the Mediterranean Europe, and not so, because our friends from France, from north of France, are asking us how we do it. Germans are asking how you do it. Dutch are asking how you do it, but we share it. Let me conclude with 3 lessons from Europe. First, wildfire prevention starts before the fire season. So with grazing and prescribed fire, not during the fire with helicopters and fire trucks. So we need to learn this. The shepherd must be reintegrated into environmental policy, fire, carbon, biodiversity. Right now, shepherds are invisible to most of the EU fundings, okay? And practical training is the only way to scale this. See, like schools like Alvão and from our friends from Spain and from France, we are the only way to scale this. So, and it is my bridge to this debate on the Q&A. So how can European pastoral schools create synergies, share protocols, training standards, and even mobilize shepherds to tackle our common fire crisis? You can check us on this website. You can call us by email, and I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And can we create a network? Can we put raising on some funding levels as fire trucks? I'm here to discuss that. Thank you. Muito obrigado pela vossa atenção.
Thank you, Marco. And now from this very important aspect on wildfire prevention, we go to the last presentation. Lauriane, I don't know if you're still there, and she will present the case from France, more linked to climate change adaptation.
Okay, thank you, Alba. Hello everyone, my name is Lauriane Flamand. I'm director of the National Network of French Public Agricultural Training Institutions. And today I'm representing the French schools for transhumant shepherds and herders. Before talking about training, I would like to briefly introduce pastoralism in France. Today, around 8,000 farmers practice transhumance in France. Together, they manage more than 1 million animals on over 500,000 hectares of collective pastoral land. Pastoral activities are present across the main French mountain regions, the Alps, the Pyrenees, the Jura, the Massif Central, Corsica, and the Vosges. Pastoralism contributes not only to agricultural production, but also to landscape management, biodiversity conservation, rural economies, and the attractiveness of mountain areas. To meet the needs of these territories, France offers several training pathways. training programs for future farmers, training programs for agricultural employees, specialist programs for transhumant shepherds and herders, as well as education and short professional courses related to pastoralism. So French pastoral schools have recently joined forces to address several challenges that are closely linked to current European priorities. We face common issues such as generational renewal, the attractiveness of agricultural professions, environmental transitions, and the evolution of pastoral systems. To respond to these challenges, 5 pastoral schools decided to work together and build a shared national framework. This collaboration led to the creation of a national association renewal of our national certification and the development of a common competency framework shared across different pastoral regions. Our objective is not to standardize pastoral practices. On the contrary, our goal is to recognize a common set of professional skills while preserving the diversity of local pastoral systems. The transhumant shepherd and herder certification is now jointly delivered by 5 training centers located in different pastoral regions of France. This certification is based on a common competency framework designed jointly by training providers and pastoral professionals. It's not limited to technical tasks. It focuses on the skills required to work in complex, changing, and sometimes challenging environments. Key competencies include analyzing pastoral resources, managing grazing systems, anticipating risks, preserving natural resources, adapting to local conditions. In short, this certification is designed to develop adaptive skills for changing environments. These 2 photographs were taken on the same summer pasture called Grande Cabane, located in the Vercors mountain range. The photograph on the left was taken in July 2008, a year with average grazing conditions. The photograph on the right was taken in July 2015 during a severe drought. These images illustrate how strongly pastoral resources can vary from one year to another. For shepherds and livestock farmers, such changes directly affect forage availability, grazing management, and sometimes the duration of the grazing season. This is why adaptation is not a future challenge for pastoral systems. It's really part of everyday decision-making of the ground. The topic proposed for the French contribution today is environmental adaptation. Our main message is very simple. Climate change is not an additional training module. Adaptation is at the very heart of the shepherd's profession. Within our certification framework, shepherds must be able to analyze available pastoral resources, assess opportunities and constraints within grazing areas, organize grazing according to available forage resources, take environmental conditions into account, anticipate risks, continuously adapt their management practices. These adaptive skills are used every day. They relate the grassland management, water availability, weather conditions, animal health, and the conservation of natural environments. We are therefore not only training technical workers, we are training professionals capable of making informed decisions in constantly changing environments. So to conclude, pastoral schools do much more than train shepherds and herders. They contribute to maintaining living and resilient rural territories. They support generational renewal in agriculture. Future livestock farmers, as many shepherds later establish their own farms. The continuation of extensive livestock systems in mountain areas, the preservation of pastoral landscapes, biodiversity management, sustainable management of natural resources. Training shepherds today is therefore not only about responding to labor market needs. It is also about investing in the future of pastoral territories, their resilience and their capacity to address environmental, economic and social challenges. Pastoral schools do not only train shepherds, they help maintain living pastoral territories for future generations. Thank you very much for your attention. We will be happy to answer any question together with my colleague Barnabé Achard, who is joining us today and coordinates the transhumant shepherds and herders training programs in the northern French Alps. Thank you.
Thank you very much to everyone that spoke today. I think we got here very interesting examples, and also we tried with Michele to bring here different topics to the ground to really see this wildfire prevention, also generational renewal, so in transmission, for example, also climate adaptation as one of the key elements, biodiversity protection, all of this to the table. And now we have let's say maximum 15 minutes to, in case any of you would have any questions for the speakers. Okay, I see already two. I will go and take the mic.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much for the presentations that were really interesting and inspiring. My question is related to the background of the people in the pastoral schools in terms of gender and also in terms of origin. So if it is from your countries or from other EU countries, or even with if they are from migrant background. Thanks. And I don't know if we make the two questions. Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much. It was very interesting. I learned so much. First of all, I learned that shepherds is not really only about taking care of animals and pastures, but really it's, I really like the term that I think Marco has brought forward. He said they are landscape managers. And I really like that because it is more general and it covers indeed much more that they are doing. They are firefighters, they are preventers of fires and so on and so forth. And I was just wondering, because this was the topic that all of the speakers touched upon, and that concerns the recognition of this profession, right? So I understood from I think from the last speaker, it was Lauriane. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Lauriane, exactly. Well, she said that in France, you have, obviously, you have to ensure the recognition of this important profession. But I wonder whether it does feature this profession under the European qualification framework. So meaning whether it is also recognized in other EU countries. And because we are in Brussels and we are the European Commission, I am from DG AGRI, I work with Alba, but we could also bring it up to the colleagues in charge of this European qualification framework. And the second point that I would like to raise in this connection was that we are talking about generational renewal. We are talking about the lack of interest in these important professions, right? There are economic factors behind. They are not well paid. Their salary is much smaller. It's a very difficult job, and it's not very well valued job. Yeah, we have found out that it is such a broad and important and responsible job, and yet people do not recognize the merit of this profession. So what can we do to attract people and to make it more sexy, more valued, more esteemed in the society in such? So these are two of my questions. Thank you.
Maybe we collect all. There are more.
Well, thank you. Hi, I also have two questions. One of them was if you've noticed a shift in attitudes between this generation, or the young generation, compared to the older generations when it comes to public sector, where it comes to education. Yeah, and if you see any differences. The second question was similar to your question, and it was about second jobs. So I've seen personally in Bavaria and southern Germany, that's a pastoral system based on mountainous areas as well, that a lot of young farmers have second jobs, whether that be in towns or online or helping other farmers. And I was wondering if in the pastoral education schools that you see that, or if you notice more second jobs being taken because of this issue with economic viability. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go more to the technical questions. I work in DG AGRI in the market of small ruminants. Okay. And from my experience, I always were quite fancy to see in the sheep and goat sector the main knowledge that they have the farmers in the bovine sector for the carcasses, for the classification of the carcasses, where is in the formation of this school, pastoral schools, or in this affair matters, because it's not only preparing in the sheep and goat sector people to face the land management that is really, I was impressed with Marco presentation, and I totally agree. But these systems needs to be economically viable. And if these guys wants to survive from this sector, they need to market, to profit from the added value of the marketing. Then how in the pastoral school is integrated the knowledge of the classification of the carcasses on the sheep and goat sector, like in the bovine sector, is already done. The processing and of the wool, this is a waste product, normally assumed by the sector. How in your schools this problematic is already treated with the new farmers in the future? And this is a question also to Beatrice, particularly how the situation is with Ireland, Greece, and Romania, because I didn't see in your map, and these three countries are basic for the small ruminant sector.
Thank you. My name is Olcay, and I am from European Coordination Via Campesina. And thank you so much for all the presentations. They were really very interesting, and they are mainly just reflecting the realities that our members on the ground are also facing. So thank you so much. I have two questions, actually, to the room as well. Older shepherds, we are talking about the transition in between generations for the generation renewal. Older shepherds hold extensive knowledge on animal health, disease recognition, and traditional healing practices, which are not recognized by the policies, by the practices. So, my question is, how can this knowledge be better recognized and transmitted through pastoral schools and integrated into EU policies on livestock farming, animal health, and vocational training as well? We should also recognize that there's also vocational training, that pastoral schools should also be integrate their programs together. The second question is more, I think my colleague from DG AGRI mentioned the same, the first person who asked the question. Many pastoral schools contribute to the training new generations of shepherds, yet the profession all over Europe often remains undervalued socially and economically. So what measures are needed at EU and national level to strengthen the social recognition, working conditions, attractiveness of shepherding as profession for young people? I am originally born and raised in Turkey, where shepherding is a very important practice, which is lost now because so many, in our research, we found out that so many young women do not want to marry shepherds because this is in rural areas, this is one of the most important reasons, not only economically, which is so down, but so this is what I wanted to ask. Thank you so much again.
So many questions, so many things to say. Thank you all. I think I can speak from the Portuguese case about the background of the educators of the school. We use our Portuguese specialist that we have. We use the ancient shepherds and farmers to enlightening the new ones how to know the animals, because no one knows better the animals than the shepherd and the land. No one, no politicians, no president, no specialist, no academic knows better the animal than the shepherd. And no one of these one wants the better to the animal than the shepherd. So the knowledge that the old shepherds add in this life, in this end, in this body, is the more beautiful thing to share with the others. So we have specialists, botanic, fires, welfare, body conditions, zootechnicians. So we have a lot of embrace a lot of teams with specialists, but our main specialist, the big one, is the old shepherds. So in our classes, we have a time in the class, in the rooms, but 2 hours in the room, and the all day with animals and old shepherds. So the knowledge that we have is old shepherds. We have to pass this knowledge by generations. So we have shepherds with 25, 30 years, 40 years, but they are enlightened by shepherds with 17, 75, 60 years old. So they all life being shepherds, they are passing the knowledge to them. So they are the main goal. About the problem with the small ruminants, we work not only with bovines, with cows, we work with goats and sheep. And Portugal faced the problem with the question of the wool. The wool is not, the market don't want our wool, they don't want our guts, they don't want nothing, but we show them business models that can support their activity in our classes. I like the idea of make shepherd a sexy job. I don't know why or how to make sexy. Is the most beautiful job in the world. So you imagine yourselves being up a mountain, looking of the top of the world, and looking for your animals, health, good feeded, with the silence, the birds, the grass, all the life of biodiversity under your feet, and imagine this, and don't say me this is not the most sexy job in the world. So the main problem mostly in Portugal is political problem, because our country is turning too much urban and don't care about the rural areas. So Lisbon and Porto and Algarve is looking at the rest of the country like wildfire country. So they don't care about us the rest of the year. They just look about us at the 3rd of June until the 3rd of October. So the rest of the year, they don't talk about us. So with this model and this visibility of the Shepherd School and the LIFE project, LIFE Maronesa project, we are turning a little the mentality of bringing shepherds a sexy job. They like it to be on the television. From our perspective, in the
Marco,
past,
one small thing, because I was thinking that we only have 5 minutes more, and maybe other speakers that want to explain a little bit or come to the questions. But no, it was very interesting what you were saying. Sorry to cut you like this, but maybe Maria or Lauriane or Tommaso, they want to also come into some of the questions to really have these last 5 minutes. And then of course everyone has my email. I will also put it in the chat, so in case there's any other pending questions, I can also try to gather everything and send it back. But thank you, Marco.
Thank you, sorry.
Yes, okay, I don't know if here in the room
shall I? Daniela Minetti.
Daniela, sorry,
Liguria.
we're trying to answer the questions first with the speakers. So okay, and so if you have any further questions, because we only have a couple of minutes more, you can send it by email to me.
Not very question, but okay. I wait for them, and so.
Okay.
But we are here in course in a school of pastoralism school, and so I wish to keep my experience just in this moment, just for this problem, for this project, and I wanted to say something about it in order to ecosystem services and payment of ecosystem services in pastoralism, that we think it's a key for improve this activity. The project is Cambio Via Pro. Many partners of us are connected in this moment, and I greet all of you from Serra di Saravena in course in this moment in the middle of a school of pastoralism. Bye.
Thank you very much. And I don't know if here in the room you want to answer to any questions.
Okay, try to answer. Works? Yes. Okay. From what countries do they come for applications? In our case, we had someone from abroad, but most part are coming from Italy, obviously, and especially from Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna region that are very close to the project areas, or for logistic point of view, obviously. And yes, shepherds is also about landscape management, biodiversity conservation, and so on. And in my presentation, I try to stress the importance of achieving a official recognition of this role at European level, and I think we can obtain it without too many difficulties, putting together the different experiences from single countries. And I don't know about, I don't have anything to say about the question about the second job. I don't know maybe in Italy we don't have this situation. Sometimes it's the opposite. Taking care about animals is the second job for someone, and in some situation it's also very important. For example, to breed rare species or very local race, and for example in the Alps or also in the Apennines, it happens. And yes, and yes, we have modules on this aspect, and also on the wool, but it's very difficult, as Marco said before. Also in Portugal, the same is in Italy. It's a special waste now. The shepherds have to pay. so it's crazy. It's a very crazy situation, and we have to think about this and a way to cope with this problem. And yes, I agree with Marco when he said that probably the better way is to engage the old shepherds in schools activities, both in theoretical lessons, but also more in practical lessons. And it's a very, very, yes, it's a very important point. And I saw that the network, Beatrice spoke about the importance of pastoral schools in foster networking, and they're very, very important, not only during the school, but for my experience, they continue also after the school, and they remains a sort of mentoring, and it's a very special thing also from a human point of view. And maybe the last one, yes, to sexy job. I agree with Marco that probably is one of the best job in the world, but we have to pay attention. And because the narrative on shepherds, it's very, very important. We don't want to give the idea of a very the shepherd under the rain, alone, without phones, without girls or boys, depends. But we don't want the idea of beautiful flowers, the song of the birds. It's a very hard work. So we do have a very a narrative that it's clear, and it considers all the aspects of this job. Thank you.
I would say it's since we have such a small time, yeah, I'm happier to leave the floor to the other pastoral schools, but just to address a point on the map, it's very much of a work in progress thing. And the reason why some countries are not represented at all is that we are still figuring out whether to try to include only schools that are solely focused on the shepherding profession, or wider agricultural high schools or vocational training that include modules on shepherds. So the situation is very much like different depending on the country, and we still need to figure out what parameters we want to keep into consideration. But I'm very happy to receive any suggestion in case you do know of vocational training initiatives or schools, because it's a knowledge that is very much fragmented, so it's not super easy to actually have an overview. I'll stop here and leave it to maybe the other pastoral schools.
Yes, Maria and Lauriane, I don't know if you want to still answer to any of the questions before we leave.
I want to speak with on behalf of Lauriane. We for the French pastoral schools, just to say quickly that I think one thing that we don't mention is that transmission is not only about land transmission and an economic transmission of a farm, but it's also about a rural community accepting strangers. I follow several farm transmissions here in France, and one thing difficult is to accept to leave a farm and that a new person outside from the community take it. So I think that there's a big subject here. One or two more things. I think we need to define what is a shepherd. It appears clear for everyone, but not for me. We have very different situations in France. We have breeders, farm managers that are shepherds, and we have employees, and it's a very different situation. And we have tensions between these two protagonists. The employees are kind of fighting actually for their work conditions, and farmers are fighting to have some better also job conditions with less environmental constraints. Actually, there's a law in France being studied to make lighter the environmental constraints. So yeah, and we have an agricultural sector pretty dynamic with some AOP dairy product that keep the price of dairy production very high, like in the Northern Alps region or in the Pyrenees, that help young people installing on farms with good work conditions. And the predation, the wolf predation, that is kind of holding all the sheep production stable. I was thinking that if the subsidies for wolf protection and bear protection falls in France, I think it will completely redesign the sheep production, the sheep shepherding in France. Because if we can't protect if economically we cannot protect the flocks, the full mountain regions could be abandoned in few years. I think it's one of the highlights in France, that is all the shepherds that 80% of the shepherds that are taking care of flocks are paid with wolf protection subsidies. And to finish with the European handicap subsidies, the surface-sick handicap subsidies with really hold also all the mountain systems. Thank you.
Maria, I don't know if you want to add something.
I don't need to, like I could, but if we have run out of time, it's okay.
Okay, but thank you very much for everyone that joined today, for all the speakers that were really willing from the first moment to contribute to the discussion. Also to the colleagues and everyone that also was very active in the debate. This topic is very important for many of the files that we have here in DG AGRI. So I think it was a good idea to also bring it and discuss with everyone. And I don't know if you, Michele, want to...
Just on the issue of attractiveness and the acknowledgement, kind of recognizing the knowledge and the services, I think the key aspect from a policy perspective is to believe that pastoralists, that this kind of farming system not only live out of their products, but also have their services social, because lands in those areas otherwise get abandoned, and the community get abandoned as well, as kind of desertification, and ecological, because we know the role they play in managing habitats and controlling biomass. So I think from a policy perspective, the challenge is to have those services recognized and paid for. And I think this is the big debate, because so far we have, as for the case for the wolves that was mentioned by the French colleague, there is in the CAP, there is funding, specific funding to protect herds and to enhance the coexistence between wolves and bears and other large carnivores and the herds and the flocks. But that is all based on a kind of cost recovery. So the money that you have to allocate can be reimbursed. But the idea is that here we have to pay for the service, so to acknowledge the service and to provide specific kind of compensation for the service, not just for the materials that make the service available. So I think it is a shift, is a mental shift, and that is what the schools could help with, because it goes with the whole idea of the attractiveness of being a shepherd or of marrying a shepherd, as you said, and the social stigma that has been accompanied this sector for a long time. As it was mentioned before, living in such conditions, very often you have images either in black and white or in a very colorful and flowerish environment. It is something in between, but I think in political terms, that stigma has not been yet clearly ironed out. So, and the schools, they have an enormous role into saying that this is not just a work, it's a profession. It's a profession that involves huge number and huge diversity of knowledge. And as the French colleague said, it has to adapt continuously to a variable conditions. So it's a very dynamic job, it's a beautiful job, it's a profession. And that is why we have schools for a profession. And that is why the attractiveness and the social stigma are all part of the story. And that is another domain where pastoral schools can play a role.
No, I don't have anything else.
Put a hat on the chapeau.
No, that's it. I mean, and thank you very much, and really thank you for also being very active in the debate. And that's everything from our side. I hope you enjoyed and you learned. I will also send the record and everything around. And if anyone wanted to ask any last questions online, please send them to me. I put my email there, and I will try to gather everything. And thank you very much again.